streaming. It is biblical up here right now, so I'm hoping everything will hang on. So far, internet's been good, but it's nasty outside. It's insane.
Good. We have that to look forward to tomorrow.
Yeah.
We had that for about hour and a half this afternoon. Probably about 2 to 3:30. It was pretty, or maybe about 1:30 to 2:30. It was intense. We were starting to get close to making what happens if the power out goes out decisions.
Oh wow, yeah. We had a tornado warning in Buckhead. Like they were like, get away from the windows. I'm on the 15th floor, and it's all windows, and they're like, get away from the windows. I'm like, I don't know how. Okay, sure.
It's like that's not really a
Not
thing
the cards here.
here.
On the 15th floor in Buckhead. I don't know. I don't know what to do. But yeah, they lifted the warning after about it was like an hour. It was a long tornado warning, and it was insane. I mean, looking at, you couldn't see buildings that are, across the street from you. Got
Wow.
crazy.
Yeah, that's pretty intense.
Yeah. Yeah. And then as an encore today, it decided to start coming down right about the time it was almost quitting time, and I'm like, oh, super, this is great. I'm just going to drive home in this mess.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Holy smokes. All right. Well, we got some NASCAR to talk about. I just threw in a bunch of rando topics there after a while because I was like, well, see what we're doing. What's up, Deb? Good to talk to you. Good hanging out. I did, I didn't put Derby in the notes. I might as well. There we go. Cool. Yeah, April showers bring May flowers my right butt cheek.
No kidding. It's like exact opposite.
April pollen brought freaking May insanity. Although it did wash all the pollen off, I guess, so that's good news. Truck is clean. And I even had some, like, bugs on the windshield that I've been neglecting to clean up. Driving home today in the downpour, all the bug juice is gone.
That's good.
Yeah.
Free car wash.
Yeah. Yeah. I've been looking at trucks again. Like that's a bad hole to go down because first you're like, all right, what do I need? And it's like, well, I mean, just something like what I currently have. I don't need to go too crazy. And then I'm like, well, if I want to get into doing some more camping and stuff and either going to the races or me and Serena going out and whatnot, probably want something to tow a little more. So looking at like a 2500 instead of the 1500 on a Ram or something. And all right, well, that looks good. And then you just start getting into like, do I even need blah, blah, blah? What if I just got a Ram Charger, like a 1982 Ram Charger? And you go look it up and people have got them all done up and they're awesome. And they cost half of what a truck would cost normal. And you're like, okay, I'm getting a Ram Charger. And then, and then you're like, wait, what am I doing? It's like 2 hours later, you're deep into some listing, starting to negotiate with a guy before you're like, wait. What was I doing? My truck is working fine. I should just back off of here. So, yeah.
I know what you mean.
Yeah. Who we got? Who's hanging? We got Raj. We got Deb.
Chances are we got Patrick, but he usually doesn't say a whole lot.
That's all right. Patrick, what's shape?
So Ryan Kiefer reached out.
Oh, cool.
Said that something went wonky. He didn't mean to roll off, but his whatever he uses to pay with is not communicating.
Oh.
So he's going to try to rectify that, but he's running into some roadblocks that he doesn't know how to sidestep.
Okay. Well, no big deal.
That's what I told him. I was like, yeah, well, we'd love to have you, but you do it however you do it.
Yeah. Oh, Deb, Ram Lone Star. Love it. Absolutely. Yeah. So, then, of course, I get to go look at... Dude, I've watched probably 8 hours worth of, like, walkthroughs, just like we did in Phoenix when we walked through every camper on the lot. Like, I've looked at every camper on the internet, I feel like. And I don't know if I'm still at a good spot with it, because everybody... I don't know. Everybody's about like, hey, you can just sleep 25 people in this thing. I'm like, I ain't fixing to sleep 25 people. Like, give me a spot for me. Give me a spot for Sherwin. And then, when me and the wife are going, we don't need the extra bed. Like, I'm not just inviting strangers into this thing. What do we need, sleep that many people for?
Right. I'm going to go get the air on. I had the damn oven going. It's nice and warm in here. I was freezing earlier when I woke up from my nap.
Well, for the meantime, it's a Rusty Show. What's going on, everybody? Welcome, y'all. Excited to get this one kicked off and going. We got a lot of rando topics this week. Just me and Sherwin. Gonna have some fun. What's up, dude? I've been talking crap about you the whole time while you're gone, of course. Not really.
I hope so. I hope it was bad stuff.
Yeah, all bad, of course. No, cool. Let's see. You about ready to get started?
Yep.
All right, let's do it. Let me find the tune. There it is. And you know what's funny is I'm looking at the file names and everything, and like our show with Gordon Perkle was PTM 87. Like,
I believe it.
101 episodes ago.
201.
Yeah. What did I say?
Yeah. Oh, I thought you said 101, but you may have just cut yourself just short enough to where the mic didn't pick it up.
Oh, yeah. That's bonkers. We got to go say hey to him again. There you go, Roger. Appreciate it. Someone said, may the 4th be with you, also with you. That's a good memory on old Rusty's little up-down. How you doing? How's your mom and them? Love it.
Oh, yeah. The Methodists say, peace be with you, and then the return fire is, and peace be with you.
Oh, so they kind of did it different than...
Methodists are the Catholics without the intensity.
Catholic Junior, yeah. Yep.
Yeah, it's like all the drinking with less of the pageantry.
Pageantry. That was one thing. So, we've already talked about it on the show, so I won't go into the recording with that. But with, grown up Baptists, and it was just kind of a room with the preacher man and his wife and whatnot. But Methodist Church, when we went there one time, I was like, whoa, this is like they're marching down the aisle with like stuff and things that mean something important. And I don't know, like, what I'm supposed to touch. Like, and, it was kind of weird. And then, like I said, going in the Catholic church the first time, it was, I figured I would melt. I don't know. Anyway.
Yeah. Well, that's what, so Methodists have altar boys and all that stuff too.
Mm-hmm.
But the preacher's allowed to get married.
Okay. Well, sir, we ready to do it?
Yeah.
Here goes nothing. We're recording now. Welcome, y'all! That's right. This is the Pregame Engineer Tailgate Mayor Racing Podcast, episode number 288. It's Tuesday, May the 4th be with you, 2021. I'm Tailgate Mayor Rusty Wallace in the PTM Podcast Studio in Atlanta, Georgia. As always, this podcast is sponsored by you. That's right. Go to patreon.com/PTM. Join the What Drink Club for as little as $1 a month. Get that free koozie, get some stickers. Best part is, at some point this year, we're going to donate all that money from this year and last year to sponsoring drivers. Join the PTM Posse today. Be a part of the sport you love. This week's show, as always, brought to you by our official sponsors at the $5 and up per month level. They are... Choke myself. Aaron Bearden, Robert Kevin Coleman, Clam Eric, Captain Ryan Kiefer, Patrick Cleary, Jeff Brown, Brandon Crowell, Kathleen McDonald, Brandon Call, Rico Porter, Julie Bonzi, Etta Grid, Third Young Motorsports, David Mullins, Patrick Johnson, Brett Morris, Coach Smoke, Fred Rosado, Chad Knapp, Stacey Coleman, Lisa Chinana, Rick Houston, Sarah Enbari, Evan Roller, Matthew Bishop, Harry Bolzania, AJ Evangelista, Janet Scott, Les Miller, and Jumpy. Got it. Hello. Here it is. The one breather, barely just brought it in by the skin of my teeth From the PTM North Carolina studio, welcome pregame engineer Drew Sherwin. What's up, dude?
What's up, buddy? Sounds like about, I don't know, 12 hours from now, we're going to get round two of the nonsense we got weather-wise about mid-afternoon today.
Dude, we were talking in the very brief pre-show that we had, but here in Atlanta, we had like one of those rare tornado warnings in like where the buildings are, like the big buildings, and you don't you don't get that very often. And I'm on the 15th floor of a big high-rise. And they're like, get away from the windows. I'm like, this whole thing is windows. What am I supposed to do? I don't know where to go. I guess I can go sit in a stairwell and like my phone doesn't work in there. So what am I going to do? Just stare at each other? Like, this is stupid. This is 2021. We're supposed to be playing on our phones or something. So,
Right.
yeah. So, anyway. But yeah, it was, it got nasty yesterday. And I was just telling you that it just got nasty again. Lightning and everything else. Hopefully the old internet stays up for us. But yeah, we're just going to keep on trucking with the PTM podcast as long as we can, and knock on wood, we stay with good enough internet. So who knows? But Sherwin, what you been up to?
You know what? I slept a lot over the weekend, buddy. You know, these weeks are getting stressful by the day, more stressful by the day. Spent all day doing math, which is, I mean, that's what I get paid to do, so I guess I shouldn't be complaining.
Yeah.
But, man, I was ready. 5 o'clock, I saw my boss hit the door, and I was like, I am out.
Yes, sir.
He was like, so I had a choice. We can either have a meeting to finish up this slide at 6 p.m. tonight or 7 a.m. in the morning. He's like, I picked 7. Is that okay with you? And I go, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not 6 p.m. in it tonight.
Yeah, yeah. There's, I tell you what, man, the older and older I get, the more I'm like, people are like, you want to meet at 8 in the morning? And I'm like, yeah, that's better than, like you said, 6 p.m. right now. Like, I want to go home. Because I know I'm going to go to bed anyway in about 4 hours. So, you know, what am I doing? So, is what it is. We're getting old, man. What happened?
I know. I mean, I'm up every morning by 6 o'clock, usually by about 5:40.
Dadgum. That's a way to be.
That was Saturday for me. So I came home. This is how exhausted I was last week.
Mm-hmm.
I came home. The Braves weren't on television here. They were blacked out on MLB.com, YouTube TV. And I said, well, if I can't watch, I said, I think I'm just lay down a minute. And I woke up about 30 minutes later. I go, nah, I'm going to bed. So I was in bed at 9, and I was like, ready to go Derby Day at 5:20 a.m. I was like, now what? I mean, this is a 3-nap day right here. And I still slept through, like, I don't know, half the Xfinity race, or Trucks race, rather. I mean, I woke up and they were crossing the finish line. I go, well, I guess I'll go get in bed.
Oh, man. Well, sir, what you drinking on tonight to drown out the pain of the week?
Well, I still got some Taco Tuesday worthy beer.
There you go.
The Dos Equis. I'll have to get something for tomorrow since it's Cinco de Mayo, but I do have some margarita mix in there. What you got?
I'm just not going through beer like, yeah, you know, you remember I bought that like 6-pack of 420 back on 420 to drink. So I still got one left, so I'll drink that, but I did go get me some Bullet bourbon for the Derby. So I'm drinking Bullet bourbon, and I got the 420 on deck. So should be.
I looked up this afternoon some of those funky Star Wars cocktails, and there was a couple that I was like, man, I'd really like to try that, but I got most of the way home past the liquor store, and I was like, I don't want to fool with that.
That's what it comes down
man,
to.
maybe this weekend, you know.
Oh man, I know some people who are super big into like craft cocktails and whatnot, and I have that same reaction where it's like, well, I could go spend all this time and money on all these ingredients and then all this mess putting it together and everything. I'm still going to drink at the same pace that I drink everything else. So why don't I just take some whiskey, mix it with Coke, and call it a night? You know. It's not that I don't like that stuff. It's just that I would rather somebody else make it for me.
Well, that or at least, you make two because you have a companion with you that's interested in the same kind of drink.
Mm-hmm.
That makes it kind of worth your time. When it's just me, I'm like, I don't even have an up glass anymore, and I'm like,
Yeah.
I kind of like the idea of drinking in an up glass. That's fun, but
Mm-hmm.
I was like, I got to go to the grocery store and get this, and then I got to go to the liquor store and get this, and then I got to blend this. I'm like, nah.
Yeah, yeah. I will admit, and if you're a Derby lover, go ahead and close your ears. I went and got creme de menthe. So that's
Dude, I've been cheating on that for a while. Now I did it. I did it the honest way this time. I did get fresh mint. Had to go to 3 different stores because
oh,
Dodo
goodness.
Bird waited till Saturday morning at
Mm.
like 11:30, and I got simple syrup from the grocery store. So I kind of had it all pretty well. I had it right. I broke out the magic bullet my sister gave me like 3 years ago and finally used it. Not
Nice.
great for making crushed ice, but it we
Does the
got it
job.
figured out.
Mm.
They were plenty good to drink.
For sure. Yeah. And what a derby it was, man. I posted on Twitter. I always have these thoughts, and then I'm like, oh, that'd be funny to post on Twitter, and then can't find my phone or whatever, and then I lose it. But I was sitting there thinking, because I was like, and it entered my mind this way. I was like, oh man, I was really rooting for whatever his name was, Soup and Sandwich. Was that the name of that horse?
I was rooting for Hot Rod Charlie because one of those Brown boys is from Stars Mill.
Oh, cool, cool.
Yeah,
Yeah. But
he finished third, so they won 300 grand.
that's pretty sweet. But yeah, I was like, Soup and Sandwich, that's an awesome name. And then the horse didn't win, and I was like, oh well, off to the Buschy McBusch race. If Soup and Sandwich can't win, I'm like, what am I saying? What world are we in where I'm like, oh well, Soup and Sandwich didn't win. Time to watch a Buschy McBusch race.
Yeah, it almost feels like you're back in kindergarten for a minute.
Yeah.
Like what? I mean, I don't know. If it made people laugh, I guess that's all that matters.
Oh yeah, I'm fine with it. But anyway, happy May 4th. May the 4th be with you and also with you and whatnot. So yeah.
Well, over there on the other laptop, I've got Return of the Jedi on silent. 'Cause
Oh,
why not?
very nice.
TBS marathon. I figured it was appropriate.
Very nice. Well, sir, I think it's around this time of the year, every year, that I admit that actually Return of the Jedi that's the one Star Wars movie I've seen, because a buddy of mine back in high school wanted to go see it, and like when they
Re-released it, yeah.
all those,
Like
so
for HD.
yeah, we went and saw that, but I never really got into it, and then in the adult life, you're always like, well, I've got 3 hours. Do I watch that movie or do I watch something else? And I'm afraid of getting into it, blah, 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 blah. So anyway, old Rusty, if you want a treat, just try to listen to me or ask me at some point at a race or something to try to tell the story of the very first Star Wars movie. Like just try to, recite it out loud, and I will I apparently make anyone who is a huge Star Wars fan laugh their butt off. So for what it's worth.
Well, what's funny about that is I saw him. I don't know if I saw him completely out of order, but so in the 80s, they had some huge come on deal. If you signed up for cable, you got HBO free for like 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
And because my dad never would have paid for it. And it was right about that time that Return of the Jedi came out on HBO. So Return of the Jedi was the first one I ever saw.
Okay.
And then, New Hope, which they renamed it. It was originally just called Star Wars.
Right.
That came out on television, and then I think Empire Strikes Back came on HBO. So we had all 3 of them on cassette. But the one that I cared to watch the most was Return of the Jedi, because how old was I? I was 5. What did they have in Return of the Jedi? Ewoks.
Ewoks and
So,
lasers and
I mean,
Jabba the Hutt.
I was
and,
all about some. So, and that sparred that whole Ewoks adventure thing. There was like 3 major motion films they made with Ewoks, and I saw all of those.
Yeah, yeah. Well, like everything else in my life, I know just enough to be dangerous and just enough that like I can try to relate with people until they start, busting out some real trivia or something. And I'm like, oh yeah, I don't know, can't quite get into that. Not sure. So I'm laid bare pretty quickly when it comes to that stuff. But so be it.
Well, it's like you imagine any other of those series that are as long as so. The Star Wars series now is up to what 11 movies because you had those two adjuncts that were the side piece stories,
Mm.
and I've seen every one of them, but and I liked them for what they were, knowing what the story was, etc. But I'm not like I don't own any Star Wars figurines or what. I'm like, for me, and the people are like, I really not into this. To me, that was like Fast and the Furious. Saw the first one, I was like, yeah, definitely entertaining. Definitely not watching 9 more of these.
Dude, I think I saw the second one, and I don't remember a single plot point from it. So ain't no telling. But the fact that they keep coming out with them, and evidently those movies do incredible overseas. That's the crazy thing. Like out in Asia, and I don't know about Europe, but definitely in Asia, because you'll see the box office numbers, and they're
the
like
car platforms were, mostly Asian.
yeah, yeah, and it's funny because you'll see the box office totals, and it's like, well, we spent $100 million on this movie. We made $5 million domestically and $10 billion overseas, and you're like, good God, okay, well, good on them.
Yep.
Keep milking that cow. I do have kind of a funny story. It's a quick one here. We have an intern starting with us now. Working in the technology sector. You come to terms that there's not going to be a whole lot of NASCAR fans. There might be some gearheads, those type of folks, but there's not really NASCAR fans. Maybe one or two in the building or something. And same goes with like country music, right? Most people are they're all over the place. Who knows? But there's not a strong concentration of country music fans. And so I heard that we had an intern coming, and I said, "Oh, cool, that's awesome. What's his name?" And they said, John Anderson. And I was like, you talking about swinging? You talking about straight tequila night? You talking about Seminole Wind? John freaking Anderson? And, I get these blank stares. Like, his name is John Anderson. I don't know what any of that other mess you were talking about was. I'm like, John Anderson's got some freaking shoes to fill, and I'm going to call him Tequila for the rest of the time that he's here. So old Tequila's starting with us in a few weeks, and he doesn't know it yet, but he's about to walk into a world of country music. So.
Yeah, well, you ought to put a CD and a bottle of mezcal on his desk.
yeah. So yeah, that was kind of funny. John Anderson. So of course that led me down this path to where I probably wasted an hour at work today just watching and listening to live John Anderson sets because I hadn't been able to go watch live music in the past year. So I'm like, oh, this is sweet. Oh, that's awesome. And I'll tell you what, Sherwin, we got to see John Anderson in concert because he's getting a little old. He's in his mid-late 60s, something like that. But his voice he's one of those album perfect voices, if you will. Like there is no difference between what he records on the album and what he sings in the dance hall. So
I'd love to see him in a place like, I don't know, what was the name of that place where we went and saw Cody Jinks?
There ain't no telling if I can remember.
That the Terminal West? Was that where we were at? Yeah, that
place was so small. There were, 150 people there? Probably more. Maybe like 300 or 400.
Probably 250, maybe.
Yeah, but that was a fantastic venue. And yeah, thinking about seeing him there. Oh, I got goosebumps just now just thinking about it.
Yeah, buddy.
And especially now, I need some more no regret type of stuff because one of my biggest life regrets in country music is not being able to see Joe Diffie live, and rest his soul and whatnot. But COVID took him last year, and golly, not being able to see Joe Diffie is like that hurts.
Yeah, it's kind of a miss for sure. I never did either.
Yeah. So now, all that said, I was talking with some of the gearheads at work, and one of them brought up, "Hey, I heard in NASCAR, and I get it. This is old news for us, but they had seen something. They were talking about the new the next gen car because it's getting a lot of press right now, obviously, because it's about to be revealed tomorrow or whatever the visual, but they were talking about all the pieces, and I said, yeah, it's interesting because the independent rear suspension thing, they're really pushing this whole dirt race, and dirt and independent rear suspension oval tracks, not exactly compatible. And they said, huh. And these guys are some guys who know. These are actually three other guys at work. They know a lot about racing. They're pretty freaking good with racing. They're just not into NASCAR necessarily. But but they said, why is that? And I went, well, I don't know. And I
Can't ride the cushion.
well, and so I said, I'm gonna go look it up. And you go look up online and try to go find it online. You ain't gonna find nothing. You'll find like Weaver talking about it, but he's just like, well, the drivers don't really care for it, and we haven't really done it. The best I could find, and I want you to talk about it here in a minute, Sherwin. But the best I could find is that like, well, there is no series in racing that has independent rear suspension at a dirt oval. So one, nobody knows what will happen. So the other piece, Sherwin, go for it.
Yeah, well, I think the reason why they're probably skeptical is you really need to prop the car up on the right rear on a dirt track, and if you have independent rear suspension, it's just going to sink right down on it.
Yeah, yeah.
So you're going to have to put in a shock that's got an absurd amount of spring rate.
Just rubbers all the way up, just one after another on the springs.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how they're going to do it. I'm curious. So the science behind it's always what's interested me, and I think if they're gonna have a independent rear axle, they're gonna have to do something funky with the springs, or else that car's just gonna roll over to the right.
Yeah, yeah. And so and that's interesting too, because when you're coming out of the turn, you're kind of kicking it. That's a turn right to go left thing, but you're kind of kicking that out of balance. But I guess you still need enough friction to not just spin out or something.
Well, what it does is with the solid rear, once you get to leaning to where that spring rate has reached its max and is actually propping the rest of the car up, it transfers power back to the left. So you'll get grip on both sides.
That makes
Independent
sense.
is going to force the right to do the
Just
majority of putting the power down.
Mm-hmm.
Unless, like I said, they're going to be putting like a 2,300-pound spring back there or something crazy.
Yeah, and a concrete tire to go with it. So, okay.
Yeah.
Well, that certainly helps, and that's something that again on the internet you're not going to hear anybody talking about it. So
I didn't know what you'd even written, so I Googled IRS dirt, and all I got was the Internal Revenue Service. And I was like, okay, this is probably not it, unless Rusty's playing a joke on me.
Oh, that's funny. No, I was curious just because I hadn't looked it up and I hadn't really thought about it and what that means. But yeah, the only thing I found, I think Weaver had said in one of his articles that it would just be mud bogging, is what people feel like, and that makes sense to what you're saying, that you're just digging into dirt on the right side, and who knows how it tears up the track and whatnot too.
It's going to be interesting. It's probably going to be a double rut, whereas you just have a cushion where you kind of fold all the dirt up against the wall. They're going to cut a rut, like a two-track, if they all run in the same lane. So that'll be interesting to see. I'm curious now.
Yeah. So it'll be fun. But yeah, there you go. So yeah, that's interesting. How about I think I also wrote in the notes, it might be later on, but yeah, I did write this down. But since we're talking about next gen car, I was one of the things I do before the show and writing up show sheet, making sure I don't miss anything, right? Making sure there's no big story or something that just broke or whatever that I miss. But every week that I go looking for it, if you're looking for NASCAR in the news and whatnot, you always get the penalty report. And every week there's somebody with lug nut violations, right? And so next year, are we pretty much done with that? Is that like, you can't really have a lug nut violation if there's no lug nuts. There's just the one, and if you F that up, the tire falls off. So,
yeah, I mean, obviously that is, I don't know what's the primary driver. There's probably a 1A and a 1B. The primary driver, at least that they've tried to explain, is that they wanted to go to an aluminum wheel because they want to look sexier.
mm-hmm.
The problem is you can't have a 5-stud aluminum wheel in that kind of racing, because if you do leave lug nuts off and there's one, and they get to vibrating, it'll just tear the wheel right out of the real wheel well, because aluminum is so brittle.
Right.
So they had to go to a single lug. Now, I'll steal from somebody else that's already been talking about it, as everybody will do. The gas man just became a lot more important person.
Yep.
Because he's going to be the drum that is the decider on when the car gets to leave every time.
Every time, yeah, and that's what I was telling the folks at work, because I said, because they mentioned all these changes. They were saying, "Whoa, look at all these changes NASCAR's making." I said, "You know what's crazy? Is it probably the most visible change you're going to see? Because I mean, a lot of what we're talking about is either under the hood or under the car or whatever, and we may see some differences here and there, but they'll be subtle. But the biggest difference you're going to see is single lug wheels, and the pit stops are all going to be on the gas man now, and what the strategy is with fuel. So it's like you have to decide if you're just taking. Does anybody take 2 tires anymore at this point? With this,
with this, I don't know the answer to that. I mean, I think it's still going to be determined upon what the grip level is. I mean, there was people that took 2 tires at Talladega, but they were taking lefts, which is interesting. But that was because of cautions that said, hey, man, we haven't really used these tires that much, but we used them enough. Want to come get lefts?
Yeah.
It's been a while since we talked about just doing lefts. Usually it's just rights if you do 2.
Right. Left. Whatever. Yeah. That's wild. So, with that, Sherwin, let's tear it down. Here we go. Oh, there it is. And Sherwin, it's one of those rare moments. And as much as it pains me, I hope he's listening. Old Cone, I hope he's listening to me. As much as it pains me, the greatest honor in PTM podcast, here it is. Way to go, Cone. He called it Kyle Busch. So horn for Cone. The Buschy McBusch race ended up being the Busch winner. So, duh. But it was a heck of a deal. Great call, Cone. Respect. But, that was it was an interesting race. What'd you think, Sherwin?
I didn't mind it. Mm-hmm. I don't know. I think that horsepower package, I'm still kind of on the fence. I mean, the restarts are absolutely bananas.
Yeah.
So it's hard not to be excited about one of those. But we didn't have a natural caution until there was 30 laps to go.
Yeah.
So, I mean, what are you going to do?
Mm-hmm. So,
Kansas is supposed to be one of those really fun tracks now, and I don't know. I think you're going to see in Jeff Gluck's poll, it's not going to score very well.
So, I mean, the big news everybody's talking about is, of course, that whole tire thing. And I've been on the pitchfork mafia on both sides of it now over the course of the last, 24, 48 hours, trying to, figure out where I stand on that. So on one side, of course, we have, hey, this tire rolled out in the middle. This is a obvious safety issue. Somebody comes careening across, for whatever reason, across the grass, and you hit that, you're in bad shape, and that's a safety problem. Like, that could get you airborne. That could get you, who knows, slammed up against the driver's side on that. That's problematic. On the other side of the spectrum, it is NASCAR letting the things play out until we return to we're, everybody's cycled through. We get to throw, we can throw the caution now. But if it wasn't, this is where I go back on the other side and start throwing pitchforks. If it was a safety issue now, then it was a safety issue 12 laps ago. So what are we even doing? I don't know. Where are you at, Sherwin?
Where I'm at with it is the drivers that were interviewed after the race, be it written journalism or on the television, said that's exactly what they expected to happen. So As soon as they said that, I go, all right, there's no reason for me to be mad then. The drivers knew this was the way it was going to go.
I'm with you there in that, that was what kind of calmed me down from that stance, is that they were like, yeah, that's what we expected, and that's what happened. So, exactly that. So, I don't know. But it's still, I'm all over words right now. I'll compare it to the safety barrier. What happens when they don't put a safety barrier up somewhere? Somebody's going to hit it and hit it hard, whether it be Elliott Sadler or a Kyle Busch or whoever it be. Jeff Gordon had one that was bad. They're going to find it, right? And we pretty much fixed all that. Well, if you leave a tire sitting out in the middle of the grass long enough, somebody's going to hit it. Maybe not this race and maybe not next race, but what's going to happen when somebody hits it?
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest fear is that not so much how much damage it would do to a car, or whether it might hurt the driver. It's that if you hit it hard enough, you'd probably render it airborne and it would go flying into the pits, and those things weigh about 80 pounds.
Right. They're not pulling linebackers from college to sling tires for nothing.
Yeah, and I think the in the moment call has a lot to do with the fact that despite the fact that you can't tell on television, you could put Arrowhead Stadium in the infield in the football area of Kansas Motor Speedway. Mm-hmm. It's big. So, I don't know. I guess I'm not going to stand pat on one side or the other. Because, it's all subjective in the end. Even in the competition booth, it was subjective. So, I don't know. If the right person raises the right amount of stink, maybe they don't make that decision next time. Maybe they go, look, the drivers all knew this is how we were going to do this. So I think the biggest complaint from some of the competitors, particularly the guys on the roof, was, hey, why don't y'all get on the horn? You know what channel we're listening to. Let us know what you're doing.
Yeah. Oh, that's a good point. And, I'm coming off of Talladega where Joey Logano, and Brad Keselowski was talking about it. All these folks, not just Penske or whatever, but all kinds of people talking about, the safety issues there. And then we get here and we just let a tire sit in the infield for 15 laps. It's like, guys, we just talked about this. Like, what the hell? But to your point, I see it. The drivers. It's hard for me to know what the drivers are going to be pitchforks about.
Yeah, it almost seems like it changes every week depending on what their results are, whether or not they're involved in the weird thing that happens or not.
Yeah.
And self-preservation is a big part of the way you offer an opinion right after a race anyway.
Yeah. Well, Sherwin, from 2005 through 2021, Kyle Busch has won a race every single season. There are two other people on Earth now or ever who have done that, and that is David Pearson and Richard Petty, who has 18. Do you see Kyle Busch eclipsing Richard Petty in straight years with a win?
Absolutely.
I do
100%
too.
I do. He just turned 36. And David Smith from Motorsports Analytics said racers don't even peak until they're 39. That would go ahead and put him right above old King for most years in a row with a win if he wins the next 3 years.
I tell you what, it's another one of those things where when you're in the moment right now and you're year to year or you're season to season or you're race to race and you're watching Kyle Busch and yeah, maybe he didn't do so great this week or maybe, he's frustrated at this or he's doing the whole crying thing at the end or whatever, whatever. But what'll happen is that folks will look back and they'll 20, 30 years from now, ain't nobody talking about all that. All they have anymore is numbers. And they look at the numbers and they go, here's a guy that won, call it 20 straight years in a row. He's I don't know what else to say other than he is going down in the history books as a one of the elites and deserves to be in the same conversation as the folks we talked about just now, plus Jimmy Johnson, plus Jeff Gordon, plus Kyle Busch.
Yeah, I mean, just the fact that he hasn't had a whole year slump says a lot. I mean, even if it's just a couple years, just a one win, it's a hell of an accomplishment. It really should be celebrated. Really.
Yeah. So, And on top of that, 200 plus wins in the not Cup Series obviously, but among all the series, I mean, we've talked about that before and what that means and whatnot. What would Richard Petty have done? And blah 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 blah. But you're just comparing apples and pineapples, I guess. Like same word. It's all NASCAR, but it's so totally different things that whatever. But
I hope one day we can get to a point where we can compartmentalize eras and not worry about comparing Kyle Busch to Richard Petty or Jeff Gordon to Dale Earnhardt. Well, Dale Earnhardt and Jeff raced against each other quite a bit, but you know what I'm saying? Like
right.
Jeff Gordon to David Pearson. They never raced against each other.
Right.
So you can't compare them.
Right. Well, it's so hard. I mean, every sport does it, right? LeBron and Michael Jordan, or Hoist Gracie and name somebody else in, who's done Anderson Silva.
Nurmagomedov.
Yeah, yeah. And Wayne Gretzky and, well, never mind.
Well, you could go back to Gordie Howe.
Well, that's fair. But yeah, I was just making fun of Wayne Gretzky's he might be the most standout in any sport ever.
Arguably.
Like across eras.
I mean, I think there's so much desire to assign a superlative instead of just appreciating what you're seeing.
I think you should frame that and put that behind you. But yep. How about Mr. Burrito coming home fourth, and he's he's looking pretty good in the standings and whatnot. Like, way to go! So
he was dead and buried a few weeks ago, and now he's all the way back into the playoff picture,
isn't he? Like it's impressive what's going on with that team, and I think we talked about it last week or the week before, whatever it was, and talking about his status and his finishes and where they've been. So, fourth place, and not fourth in some I don't know what to call it, like in some race that is different. Like, this is NASCAR's heart right here, is the mile and a half, quote unquote super speedway, whatever we want to call it. But this is what NASCAR is all about. And he posted a real finish. So good on you.
Mm-hmm.
So
absolutely,
I wanted to wrap this section up with this. Another new winner, Sherwin. So we kind of talked about it before, and everything's fallen into place. Like, if you continue to somehow get Denny to not win, but to continue to be the bridesmaid, and then Chase is a given, Harvick is a given in my book. Dylan, I don't know about given, but we've got some, we've still got some super speedway stuff coming up. Kurt, I'm not sure what Ganassi's doing this season, but then the field with two other races, that's 16 winners plus Denny. Like, things are falling in place.
Yeah, I mean, you got to believe some of those guys back there that are really probably, if they're being honest behind closed doors, are saying, yeah, we're fighting for the points way into this thing, are hoping a guy like Dinger will show up at one of these road courses and win one, since he's not running for points. We still might see that 14 or 15 different winners, but one of them may be somebody that's not actually running for points.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, that all said, let's break down the points. I wanted to walk through, since we have time, no different guests tonight, but let's walk through them. And we'll start at the top with Denny Hamlin. Somehow, in the points lead by nearly 100 points, more stage wins than anybody else with 5 stage wins, 8 top 5s. Here's a funny thing. He has 8 top 5s and 8 top 10s. You know what that means. When he finishes high, he finishes real high.
Right.
And so that's why he's at 481 points, and the next one is a guy with 2 wins in Martin Truex Jr.
Yeah. I don't know what to add to that.
Well, how about possibly surprise? And surprised or not surprised? Here's the question with it. Surprised or not surprised that in third in points right now with 1 win, William Byron?
I'm not, because he just set some kind of record for 8 straight top 10s. And I don't know what category he fits in that would be a record, but he tied somebody's record in some slot. I don't think that could possibly be all time, but modern era or something. Yeah, 8 straight top tens, man. That's nothing to joke about.
No, sir. So William Byron, um, I I guess preseason. So I'm not surprised if you finish top 10 every week that you're going to be third in points or better. But preseason, did you see William Byron being here? I want to say I didn't see him being here, but I'm also not surprised that he is, if that makes sense.
I'm not surprised. Hendrick obviously found something in the offseason that was holding them back last year. Because all four of those cars are fast.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, the driver you most have expected to have a win by now is the one that doesn't.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, I would expect for Hendrick, just like you said earlier, that they will go into the playoffs with all four of their drivers having won.
Mm-hmm. Fourth place, Joey Logano. I don't think any surprise there. If you'd have told me Joey will be in fourth place after however many races we've had so far, like, yeah, okay, that sounds reasonable. Similarly, probably with Ryan Blaney and then Brad. We get to Chase with no wins, who you just talked about, and I'm wearing the Chase hat tonight for a different reason, because we're going to we'll talk about it in a bit with Darlington and Hooters throwbacks and whatnot. But that's one. It's almost like just market zero, Donnie. Like, it's going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. Next up, rinse, lather, repeat with Kevin Harvick. There's no way you come off a season like last season and don't end up with something in the W column. That seems like a lock. And again, we're talking about the 7th and 8th place drivers right now with no wins so far, with people with wins behind them who are, Hall of Fame drivers.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'm just kind of flabbergasted about SHR. Now, Kevin did finish second, so they're showing some speed. And he ran top 8 pretty much all day on Sunday. Mm-hmm. So they may have finally creeped back in there. But, he's really the only guy. And if you think about it, Clint didn't always have the greatest performance in the world, but I'm sure he had something to offer that competition meeting that Chase Briscoe doesn't.
Mm-hmm. That's a good way to put it. Beyond that, folks with wins, Kyle Larson, Kyle Busch, the two Kyles. We know Kyle Busch has been kind of checkers or wreckers. Well, maybe not wreckers, but at least not. I don't know. He's either finishing first like this week or mediocre or whatever. And Kyle Larson's got the win. I kind of compare them in all sincerity, in that they've had similar seasons. They've got a win. They've got some blunders, not so high spots. But I was reading Jeff Gluck earlier today, and he said Kyle Larson, he feels like is a top contender for the title. What do you think?
Well, he should have 3 wins right now. Mm-hmm. If we look back on the way things have sort of shaken out.
Sure.
He's been in, like, not just contention to win, but like leading big chunks of races and not winning them.
Sure.
Atlanta, and it takes a long time of doing that before you consistently build the confidence of, if you think about that move with Blaney, and is that in the show sheet, or is now a good time to bring it up?
Bring it up.
That last restart, hey Kyle, you didn't really need to push the limit that much. You had another lap and 3/4 to try to figure out how to get to the front without, costing yourselves both 15 spots each.
Mm-hmm.
So, he's going to learn that hey, I've already got my win. I need to get my good points. And if something weird happens, then I explode up to the front and win this thing. Awesome. Let's not wreck in the process by trying to push somebody into the corner.
Yeah.
Where everybody knows that's a dumb idea.
Yeah. And on the flip side, the other Kyle Busch, I feel like at this point, I don't want to say coast into the playoffs at this point, because, that's why we're talking about this whole thing. But I feel like he's probably the lowest ranked, highest talent that's out there right now.
Yeah, that's probably a good assessment.
And I would also say the lowest ranked, who I still feel to this day will have a win this season, is Austin Dillon.
Yeah, he's been around. It's not like he's been running 21st every week. He's been around. You got to be around, right? You got to finish in the top 10 to get a top 5. You got to finish in the top 5 to get a top 2.
Yeah. Christopher Bell after that. And then two that I want to talk about. Michael McDowell, 13th, and Alex Bowman, 14th. I'm surprised that McDowell has more points. I guess I would say at the season start, if you would have said Michael McDowell, after however many races we've had, 10 races or so, is ahead in points of Alex Bowman, that would have surprised me for sure.
Yes, definitely before the season started. It is painfully obvious that there has been an influx of money to Front Row as a result of the Daytona 500, which is good for Michael McDowell and that team. He's plenty good enough to be where he's at, but he's making good on that opportunity to have a fast car.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And then beyond that, Chris Buescher, I mean, he's 15th in points and straight up points. And then Burrito, that was one thing surprising to me when I was looking at this earlier, because we just talked about it, how Burrito started the season pretty bad and has progressively gotten better and better. This fourth place win probably feels like a win, but this fourth place finish puts him up in 16th and just ahead of Kurt Busch and Tyler Reddick.
Yeah, that's a surprise. Kurt kind of tends to hover back there. I would have expected Tyler Reddick to be having a little bit better year, especially considering that we just talked about Dillon being up there, and I think general consensus is probably that Tyler's better suited for this kind of racing at every racetrack we go to, whereas Dillon has got kind of some specialty skills, particularly at the plate tracks. So yeah, I don't know. Maybe RCR figured out something too.
Well, and I was going to compare a bit RCR versus Ganassi right now, in that they're not a Gibbs, they're not a SHR, they're not a Hendrick, but they're not a Penske right now, either one of them. But as far as fighting for that kind of, I would say, low playoff spot, it's been interesting with Ganassi this year. Kurt Busch and Kurt Busch and
Ross
Chastain have they finished 14th, 15th this week. Like, it's kind of like, yeah, okay, I guess that's fine. But they're just not finding speed. What's going on at Ganassi?
Well, Ross was actually running a lot better than that for a lot of the race. Those last two restarts screwed him pretty good.
Last week, yeah. So
I think Ross is poised to get his first top 5 here not too long from now.
I agree with that 100%. What does Kurt have to do?
This looks a whole lot like Kurt, right? Like one race he's going to sneak up on you and he's just going to kick everybody's ass.
Yeah. I love the way you put that.
I mean, that just seems to be his MO since he's been with Ganassi. Is he's kind of always around, not always got a dominant car. One day he's going to sneak up on everybody and win.
Yeah. No, I love the way you put that. And now we're back into 18th plus. Reddick, Reddick and Stenhouse are tied in points. Newman is right behind them, but Newman is 30 points, so more than half a race behind playoff picture. And then Bubba, here's the thing with Bubba. I'm not surprised at where we are, and I'm also not disappointed, if that makes sense.
Brand new team. It's a hard thing to do.
Right.
You don't start off fast out of the box. And he actually has been fast. He's still making that, he's made a lot of moves that are very similar to what got Larson in trouble at the end of the race on Sunday. It's like, hey, man, take what you got until a window opens.
Mm-hmm.
Don't make a window that's not there.
Yeah.
Just take what's in front of you. Keep what you got, and bring. That's kind of what. And I may be stealing from other people, but it's like, instead of worrying about trying to finish 3 positions better than the car you have is, just finish where it gives you. If it gives you 12th, finish 12th. Don't finish 15th with a 12th place car.
Mm-hmm.
Trying to run 9th.
Yep. Love it. Well, Sherwin, thank you for breaking down the top, however many that was so far. That's fun to talk about, and it's something I like to revisit every once in a while, and really talk through everybody, and get some insight there. So that's pretty cool. We'll round out third period with, how about Derek Lancaster? We talked about him last week with Cone. He had that nasty ARCA wreck, and he was released from the hospital. So that's awesome. He was on like ventilator, and it was one of those Ryan Newman from last year's situations where you just don't know. And the family, high respect for them. They're putting out updates, but also making sure they're keeping things private and whatnot. But his wife and everything putting all that together, and he's out of the hospital. So way to go, Derek.
Good for you, Derek.
Yes, sir. We talked about it earlier. The big reveal tomorrow of the next gen car. So are you looking forward to it? There's been so many teasers and like behind the scenes and like we shouldn't have took this photo but we did kind of thing. So I don't know if I'm going to be super surprised by anything, but we talked about it last week. Like that car looks good on NASCAR. It looks sexy. So I'm looking forward to seeing it, seeing like every detail, every inch and all that stuff.
Well, I want to see all 3 of the makes side by side.
Mm-hmm.
And see, how much different they are, how much they are the same, that sort of stuff.
Yeah. I want to see what that Dodge car looks like. I want to see what the BMW looks like, and
the Nissan.
Nissan. Yeah. So, yeah. How about Pocono? They've announced no capacity restrictions coming up soon. And here's something I've liked. We talked about it with Cone last week. Normalize this whole thing in terms of vaccine. Make it like, oh, that's just what you do. And they have this, I really like this campaign that they're doing. They're like, hey, guys, once we get to 70% of the population being vaccinated, they're going to lift all the restrictions on everything. And I really like that, almost like an incentive thing. Like, hey, guys, if we do this, then we get to do anything we want. We get to have concerts. We get to go to races. We get to watch baseball, all this stuff. So I like that they put this sort of incentive idea behind it, too.
Yeah, me too. I think it's good. But, we're on the same side of that coin. We're both vaxxed up. I'm fully vested. My my Google chip is working just fine.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know why not. It's not that hard. And it's pretty ezy.
Yeah. No big
and if
deal.
that means we all get to do everything that we want to do, we don't even have to think about it. We just go, hey, want to go to the comedy club? Let's go to the comedy club.
Yes. Dude, I went to a bar on, I want to say it was Saturday or Sunday because the wife was out. I had texted you. I'm like, dude, I'm at a bar. And this is like being at the bar, like back when you turned 21 or just before 21, you had a fake or something. And you're like, I'm at a bar. I shouldn't be here, but I'm here because this is, this is pretty cool. It felt like that again. Like, I'm here. I'm not supposed to be here, but I'm here, and this is awesome. So I probably you were probably looking at your phone like, all right, Rusty, yeah, good for you. But, for me, it was like.
Oh, I was excited for you.
Back. So, that was really cool. And that's the precursor to what we're talking about. We're go back to a concert, go back to a race, go back to, baseball game down the street, whatever it is. Go back to what freaking ever. Let's have some fun again,
Mm-hmm. I'm ready.
Mm-hmm. And then finally, Dale Jr. has announced that he's racing at Richmond in Xfinity on September 11th. He's in the tribute car on 9/11. Insane that it's a 20-year. I was talking to my dad the other day, by the way, And I said, I remember back when I was young, maybe a teenager or something, and he and his best friend would talk about, yeah, you remember blah, blah, blah. Yeah, it was 20 years ago. And I used to think, golly, 20 years, that's like a lifetime. Are you kidding me? 20 years ago? And I told him that this weekend. I went and played golf for the first time in forever. I shot horrifically, but I had a few of those golf moments, like, that 280-yard drive straight down the pipe, and you're like, yeah, this is why I play golf. Anyway, I'm going down a grandpa's story here. But the fact that it was 20 years ago, it kind of hits home,
No doubt. I mean, that was the way it was for me when... I mean, the second thing I thought of when they did the tribute to Dale Earnhardt was, holy crap, Dale Earnhardt and 9/11 were the same year.
Oh, wow.
That's absurd.
Wow. Yeah. Didn't think about that. That puts in perspective. So, let's talk about the All-Star race, because I'm not sure I'm not sure I understand. So, I have the rules, or whatever that we're talking about here. So, bear with me, everybody. So we have, it's 100 laps at Texas. So going to Texas, mile-and-a-half racetrack, the big screen TV and whatnot. There's going to be 6 rounds. So 100 laps over, 6 rounds. That's however many that is per round. We have the starting lineup determined via random draw. So totally random. And then, we're going to run it. The first 4 rounds are going to be 15 laps apiece. Round 5 is 30 laps. Final round is 10-lap shootout. Of course, that's one of those that, I don't know, we've talked about before, but like, hey, bunch up the field and make them do something crazy, see what happens. At the beginning of the second round, the field's going to be inverted via random draw with a minimum of 8 and a maximum of 12. That's going to be live on FS1. That's one of those, like, I don't know what you're, like, this is where it starts losing me. Like, okay, sure. The Big Hoss TV will have that on there and whatnot. Before the start of round 3, we're going to invert again. So now, like, you're almost like turning me in circles. Now I'm dizzy. I'm not sure what to think. At round 4, field's going to be inverted again via random draw. Like, why don't we just do the 10-lap shootout at this point? But it continues. For round 5, we have a cumulative finish from rounds 1 through 4, and that determines where you start. And then the starting positions of the final round are set by the finishing positions of the previous round. So it's just pretty much just, go have a pit stop and come back. Only green flag laps will count, which I'm totally up for. And then the last couple things are about money. Race winner gets $1 million. Fastest team on pit road, which I do like this. During the mandatory pit stop, will get $100,000. But like I said, I've read out probably like 8 rules, and I'm already like done with trying to process it after rule number 4.
Yeah, I mean, is this an all-star race or a Barnum and Bailey circus?
Yeah. I don't know what we're trying to do here with that. Like, do one thing is what I feel like. Like, do one thing that's different, and like, ooh, that's pretty cool. But when you do either one thing 12 times or you do 12 things one time, it really, like, okay, whatever. Like, it feels like we're going to get to the shootout, the last 10-lap shootout, and like, okay, just put them in order and let's watch the last 10 laps is what I feel like that they're getting into. So I'm trying to figure out why I should care about round 1 through 5 right now.
Right.
So
I could totally foresee me not watching this thing.
Oh, man. And Roger says it's Eddie Gossage being an idiot. I won't go as far to say idiot. I will go so far as to say, I don't quite get it. But, yeah. Anyway. That all said, Sherwin, hats off here. Eric McClure, former Xfinity driver. I think I saw that he had like 288 races, something like that. And I remember, I remember him so vividly that I was like, oh yeah, Eric McClure. What's he up to? But apparently, passed away. He had ended up suffering multiple concussions through racing, had some neurological issues, renal failure, double kidney failure, all this mess, all kinds of issues, but 42 years old. And Sherwin, with us, with one of us knocking on the door at 40 and the other one well into figuring out what 40 looks like, 42 is, that's right there. It's not like, that's what old people do is turn 42. That's right there. And here we are looking at it, and it's like, good grief. And it's hard not to talk about him without talking about, like, I know he had the domestic violence stuff. And here's the thing. I don't know how to ever try to even justify domestic violence. That's not, this is one of those subjects that
it's not in my behavior paradigm either. I don't get it.
Right. But I say but. At the same time, with the amount of issues that he had with the brain and stuff, I can't imagine that I'll say this. I can't imagine that it was the Eric McClure of 2000 that's doing this sort of stuff. And the more we're learning about mental health and how physically traumatizing things are that affect you mentally, it's tough, man. I don't know what to say. That's no excuse necessarily. It's more of a I don't even know what to call it. Like that's
well,
tough.
I hope he volunteered ahead of time to donate his brain to Boston U or Pittsburgh Medical Center or wherever they're doing CTE studies, so that they can figure out if that's maybe what was going on with him.
Yeah. So either way, rest in peace, and hopefully the family finds peace there. Sherwin, that said, let's go ahead and if I can find it, we're going to gas it up. It's time to talk about this weekend. There it is. Darlington. Sherwin.
Uh-oh.
Did we lose you for a moment?
I guess we lost me because I got the warning that says bad internet. But throwbacks, there's some good ones and there's some not good ones.
I'm glad you said that. I wanted to talk about that. Talk about it. Give you the floor.
Well, the one that I saw today, the one that was the most spot. Well, there's two to me that were most spot on. And people are going to call me a homer for saying Chase's tribute to Colwicky. That's not Homer. Just look at the car. It looks exactly the same.
Dude,
it looks fantastic.
I didn't put it in the notes this way, but the way that I saw it, and I went through all the throwbacks that are there and through Xfinity and everything, I'm like, I'm pretty sure Chase won the throwback schemes. Like, I've got the hat on right now, the Hooters hat and whatnot. Like, that thing looks good.
Yeah, the other one that I saw today that's not in your list is Brandon Brown's throwback to Dale Jarrett's UPS car. The wrap is exactly the same. The numbers are the Robert Yates Racing numbers. I mean, there is no doubt when you look at that car who that car represents, and that wrap is spot on.
I'm looking at it right now, and absolutely. And by the way, good for him. I see on the rear it says, "What can Brown do for you?" And he put like this little arrow and put Brandon.
Right.
Like, what can
exactly.
Brandon Brown do for you? So good on him, and absolutely, totally agree that that car. Now that I'm looking at it, and I probably didn't go deep enough into the throwbacks or whatnot, but I'll tell you what makes a great throwback for me, and that is something that looks handcrafted. And we had all these hand painted numbers and everything for 30 years, maybe 40 years of NASCAR. And for us to like, hey, I'm throwing back to this, and it's like, you're throwing back because what, you have like a stripe on your car that is the same color as the stripe that they did, 60 years ago. If you're going to a throwback, like, do the same numbering and lettering. I'm not saying you have to have the same number. I know numbers are a whole ordeal, but like, have some drunk guy walk out there and start painting numbers on your car. Now you're talking about throwback, buddy.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So, Chase, I did put it in the show notes. I said Chase wins? ? Like, I didn't want to be a homer, but hey, I'm wearing the hat, and I love what he had there. and it looks really good. Bubba Wallace is honoring Wendell Scott. I thought that was pretty cool. I would say another car that looks really good, and we've seen this throwback a few times to Valvoline. And I don't know, did Valvoline just have the greatest car paint scheme ever with the big V?
Well, that and the red, white, and blue. I mean, it just kind of it stuck out. It was a car that you knew who was driving it, and you knew what sponsor was on it.
Yeah. Michael McDowell has kind of ironically a Bill Elliott throwback, which is kind of funny. The only other one that I wrote in the show sheet, if you haven't seen Michael Annette, his Gatorade white and green, that is one that checks all the boxes for me in what I was just talking about what you're looking for in a throwback scheme.
Yep, I saw it. It looks great.
Yes, sir. And by the way, on a totally different topic, wearing the Jesse Iwuji shirt today because Jesse
Nice.
he'll be in whatever it is the virtual race this week, and he was in on the fan vote, so that's pretty freaking sweet. Sherwin, it is time to do some picks. Let me tell you this. This might be a PTM record. Last week, Cone, of course, called Kyle Busch, who finished first. I picked Harvick, who finished second. And you picked Chase. Like, you're the hippopotamus here who finished worst and picked fifth. So, Chase finished fifth. So, big pat on the back. I'm going to do it, for the folks watching live. You can see the old pat on the back here. We broken clocks right twice a day or whatever. We definitely picked the right folks. So let's do it again. That said, it is over to you to start with the picks for Darlington.
Ross Chastain.
Whoa, love it. Damn, that's all I can say. What do you have in Ross?
Well, he's been good there. I mean, I know he's not really been there in a cup car that could win, but he can boogie around Darlington. He's got the car control necessary to hang it out.
Mm-hmm. I love that, and whether he wins or not, like you said, I really like the idea of what he's got going, and I don't know what to say about Ganassi. We've talked about it before in this exact show. But let's see, where am I going with this one? I hate to pick somebody who's already won because I could go with a Chase. Chase, I like his car, I like his chances, I like everything. Harvick makes sense. Austin Dillon, not so sure this week, but old Rusty, we're going with a repeat winner this week with Ryan Blaney. So young
right.
Ryan Blaney. I'm picking for Darlington here. Like what he's got, and he's, this track suits him well. I guess, I don't know, you could make yourself sound like you know what you're talking about with saying that about anybody, but I like him for this race. How about that?
Yeah, no, I like it too.
So I don't know. Manufacturer-wise, I'm trying to think I feel like, I don't know, I'm feeling the Fords. We'll see what happens.
Yep.
So, that all said, Sherwin, I think we are about out of time, as it turns out. So, appreciate everybody hanging out with us. I've had a blast. It's so much fun to come here and be able to do this on a weekly basis and hang out with all the cool folks who are listening right now. Everybody who's tuning in on YouTube, thank you so much. Sherwin, why don't you close us out?
All right. You can find us at PETM Podcasts on Twitter and Instagram. You can find me at Andrew L. Sherwin on Instagram and Pregame Engineer on the Twitter.
That's right. And as always, PTM Podcast at PTMPodcast.com. As always, Tailgate Mayor at Tailgate Mayor, Rusty Wallace. Can't wait to see y'all next week. Let's see what happens over in Darlington with throwbacks and everything else. I'm excited for this race. We'll talk to y'all next week. See you then.
Bye.
There it is, in the books. I wasn't even keeping track of time, but we were already an hour and 5 minutes. That was That was awesome.
I got to run, bud.
All right, man. You do you. We will talk to you soon. We'll talk to the PTM Posse next week.